Okay, this is the Omega 8008, 8008, and this batch was done on the largest setting, which is the tightest setting. If you loosen it, it goes down to the small. If you tighten it, it goes to large. There's no numbers, so I don't know what's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but I see it goes from small to large. And it seems like that's the tightest when you do it counterclockwise, and clockwise is the loosest. So this batch here was done on the tightest setting, which is the largest segment on that dial, and it's cranked all the way counterclockwise. So now I have it on the loosest setting, which is the smallest segment, and I'm gonna juice some more celery and then compare the juice results and the pulp from the tightest, which is the largest, compare that to the other extreme, which is the loosest all the way clockwise, which is the smallest. We'll see the difference. So on the left here, I had it set all the way counterclockwise, which it seems it's tightened all the way in, so I'm calling this the tightest. And then on the right here, I used all the way clockwise, which to me seems the loosest, so I'm calling that the loosest with the smallest segment. Tightest is the large segment. Loosest is the smallest segment. And this is the loosest here. This is the tightest. And checking the pulp, this pulp here seems much drier, whereas this pulp here is wet. So it seems like that setting here is getting more juice out of the celery. And that's the tightest setting, where you crank it all the way clockwise. That gets the drier pulp and the juice here. I'm going to try it. Tastes delicious. I'm going to see if I notice any difference between this one they taste about the same to me, but I can visibly see that this is the drier pulp, and this pulp is a lot more moist. So I think for celery, the best setting to use is cranking it all the way counterclockwise. So all the way counterclockwise, so that arrow is on the big setting. I think that's gonna get you the most juice and create the driest pulp. So I did chat with Omega about this, and I sent them a message saying I couldn't find the details on the adjustable end cap settings. It just says tighter for citrus fruits and loosest for wheatgrass, but what's the best for celery? So they answered, they said the correct setting can vary depending on the freshness of your produce. We recommend you always start juicing by setting the adjuster on the end cap at the tightest setting and dial it down as needed. The more you dial the adjuster down, the more pulp you'll receive in your juice. Typically, we have found that tighter settings 4 and 5 should be used for firmer produce like celery, leafy greens, and wheatgrass. The looser settings 1 and 2 should be used for softer produce such as citrus, berries, pineapples, etc. If you're juicing a combination of soft and firm produce, we recommend you keep the adjustable dial around 3. So that was a little confusing because there's no numbers on the dial, and just trying to figure out what's the loosest and what's the tightest. was a big question for me. So the tightest would be all the way counterclockwise, and they call that 5. The loosest is clockwise. They call that 1. 5, the tightest, counterclockwise. That's the best to get the highest yield from your celery. And that's it. Just don't get confused, because a lot of people think right is tight and left is loose, but it's the opposite here. All the way to the left, they call that number 5. That's the tightest. And all the way to the right, that is number 1, and that's the loosest. So celery juice, crank it all the way down to the left counterclockwise, and you'll get the highest yield